Guess what's here? The Numb and Dumb shirt. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to get my Numb and Dumb shirt. If you want one too, go to birbirbird.com and click the shop tab and get yourself a Numb and Dumb shirt, and let's pour a glass of wine, watch some Num 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 TV, and dum it up. This episode is so amazing.
I cannot wait to listen to this episode. I have known Romi Cortier as her guest today.
Yes.
Romi's been doing our hair, our family's hair for...
Well, he's been doing my hair for 25 years. I've only known you 20.
So 20 years.
So 20 years, and he's been doing our kids' hair since they were like a little older. He doesn't do like toddlers.
He's going to give me a haircut after this.
He is. He's giving me a haircut after this.
But he told me the last time I got my haircut, he started telling me this story.
It's insane.
And it's insane. It's insane.
It's crazy.
It's so good, I almost don't want to spoil it.
I know, right? It is so good. I kind of don't want to spoil it either. Just know this. One of the kindest, nicest people on the planet. I mean, he's really one of my favorite people.
And this story is going to blow your fucking mind.
It's going to blow your mind. I don't even want to tell you either.
It's a great story. So let's just get to it because I want to hear it.
I know. It's pretty great. Okay. So I hope you enjoy this episode with me and my dear, dear friend, Romi Cortier. I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
It's been too long. We've been talking about this for how long?
I know.
Forever.
Yeah.
So,
2 years, 3 years, yeah.
At least. So how do we know each other?
How do we know each other? Well, you tell me we met at a party, but...
no, that I didn't. No,
No,
we did not meet at a party. I saw you at a party. Well, maybe we did meet at a party on.
Wasn't it? It was somebody else, a client's party.
I think you may be right.
And that's how you got introduced to me to do your hair. And then I was at a party also that we had the conversation about where you were managing, so that I got to move into the building on Detroit.
Well, how I found you was my old writing partner, Liz.
That's what I thought.
That's how. So I must have been at a party with Liz, but Liz was already going to see you.
That makes sense.
She was already your client in that salon over on Melrose, maybe?
Yes. Because I was on Melrose at three different locations. Yeah.
Yes. It was the one on Melrose over by the Design Center.
Yes. That was Utaka Salon upstairs.
Yes, that's right.
And then there's Morrow Salon before that.
Okay. I was not before that.
Okay. So that was Utaka Salon.
That was where you go upstairs, right? And it didn't have a big circular window or something. Yeah. Yes.
Very short-lived. 7 months. I hated that place.
I think I went there to you one time.
Oh, okay.
And then you moved to another place close to the Improv?
Yep, right next door, LX Salon.
That's right.
Yeah,
so
4
I
years.
went there, and then you got your own place, right?
Yeah, 2001.
2001? It's been 21 years?
Yeah. Can you believe it?
Congratulations.
I know, having survived the pandemic, I feel very fortunate.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've been cutting, coloring, styling my hair for, how long would that be then? If you've been in this place for 21 years...
That's got to be 25 years.
It's got to be at least 25.
Because if it's 21 at the salon, 4 at LX Salon before I opened, so that's 25 years.
So you were 4 and I was 1. That's it. I don't even know if that's the right age difference between you and me anyway.
Oh my God.
But I can't believe that.
I know it. It's time flies.
Time flies.
And when I opened the salon, I guess I was 38, and it never dawned on me I would still be doing it 20 years later.
Yeah, right.
So, and then my 20-year anniversary was actually during the pandemic. So
that's why I didn't know about it.
Yeah, we didn't really celebrate. I gave out little pens that said 20-year anniversary, and that was it.
Right. Because I thought, how did I miss that? Yeah. But I'm slowly forgetting about the pandemic somehow. I think the need to be normal is bigger. And then like 5 years from now, I think we're going to look back and go, wow, that was really difficult.
I think so. And, when clients are traveling, I'm like, have as much fun as you can. Because I've got clients that are traveling to Europe right now. And just anywhere they're going, I'm like, throw caution to the wind and have a blast. You've earned it. It's been 2 years of hell.
It's the truth.
So it's like, you've earned it. You're here.
Yep.
Go enjoy yourself. Spend your money. Have fun.
Yeah. Eat, drink, be merry.
Yeah.
And eat it up. And you never know when we may have to do that again.
I know.
Right?
I know the numbers are going up again. So it's like.
I know apparently this variant is just really contagious and very nasty.
Yeah. One of my stylists today actually had to cancel 4 clients. So they canceled themselves because they all got COVID.
Oh my gosh. 4 people.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
So far, COVID free.
You are. Don't jinx yourself. No,
I know,
that's pretty incredible.
I know. Yeah. To my knowledge, you know what I mean? So,
yes.
Yeah.
To your knowledge. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Bert just got the antigen test.
Oh, did he?
And the person that gave him the test was like, "You just had COVID," and he said, "No," and they said, "Yeah," It's
Really?
too strong. So he didn't even know he had it. He had no symptoms, had no idea he had it.
Wow.
We don't even know when he would have had it, but the antigens were so strong. He was like, I had it in January,
Yeah.
but
So he got it again since January.
yeah, but didn't even know.
Oh my
Apparently,
God.
because she said that it was too far away for it to have been that strong. It had to have been recent.
Wow.
So, and nobody in my family was sick. So,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Thank God that's the good news, right?
Yeah, that is the good news.
Seriously.
Wouldn't that be great if it was just 90% of it was like that?
Yeah.
You just had no idea.
Well, fingers crossed it'll keep mutating down and not up. So
I hope so.
yeah.
So something life-changing happened for you.
It sure did.
I want to
sure
hear
did.
about it. I'm so excited. We were at lunch today with Peter, with Bert's assistant, and I was telling him what we're going to talk about, and he was like, "That's the most amazing story."
It's kind of mind blowing. I can't believe I'm on the other side of it.
I can't either.
A 40-year search.
That's crazy.
40 years since I was 18.
So wait. So you found out when you were 18 that the person you thought was your dad was not your dad.
Possibly not my dad.
Possibly. Big word.
So yeah, it's a big word. In the summer of '62, my mom was dating this guy. She was, we lived in the Pacific Northwest, and it was at the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, Navy guys, and she was living in military housing and was dating one guy for the summer, and then met another guy and ended up dating him. But what happens is if you're in the Navy and get called out to duty, you got 24 hours to get on the boat and you're gone.
Right.
So he didn't have a chance to say goodbye, I found out, and he was just gone. And so she never knew what happened to him. And she discovered she was pregnant at 3 months and married the man she was dating. And like a good woman in the 60s, you get married, you have your kids, raise your family.
Yeah.
And she had 2 more kids with Bob. And so they got divorced when I was in my teens. And it wasn't a great father-son relationship or family. He just wasn't a great guy. So I came home from school one day from high school and I was really obsessed with this really cute Italian guy. He was like dark hair and mustache and, our little mustaches we get when we were in high school. And I was just like obsessed with him and his shoes and everything about him. I was like, Mom, this guy's really cute. He's French. He's Italian, blah, blah, blah. She's like, well, you might be Italian too. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I got something to tell you. So,
oh my God.
So that's when she said, I was dating this guy named Tom and he's Italian. And I just wasn't really sure what the reality of it was, but so you just might have a different dad than your sisters. I said, okay, that's great. I'm fine by that because I don't like the guy.
Yeah,
I got an out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she gave me her little black book.
Oh my God!
I brought it for you.
That's her little black book.
This is her little black book.
No.
And all her writing in here. And here's what she gave me. This is Tom's information where he was stationed.
I can't see that far. I got to see this.
Yeah. Where he was stationed in the Navy in 2 different locations. And
wow,
she was like, she wanted me to find him. I think she always wanted to know what happened to him.
That's crazy.
Because there's no cell phones back then. There's no email.
No, you just had this address. Not even a zip code.
No. Yeah, that was just where he was stationed. And he ended up being in the military for 5 years and served in Vietnam. So she didn't know where to go in Ohio to find him. She didn't know for sure if he was from Ohio. So she always figured he had a girlfriend back home and that's why he left and stuff. So she didn't know. She never really knew the whole story with what happened with him. But since I was 18, I've been looking. So
how were you looking at that age? Because when you were 18, there was no internet.
No.
There was no. I mean, how would you even look?
Well, what I did do is in the 80s, I wrote the military and I gave them this information. I said, this is the guy I'm looking for. Here's where he was stationed. Do you have any information? And I just waited and I waited and I waited and I got nothing. They never wrote back. And I didn't hire a private investigator. I didn't think I could afford that. And so I just kind of, sometimes you would scan the phone book or once Google came out, I would start like looking for obituaries. Because if I found an obituary, I would know he'd passed.
Right.
And it was so funny because I always intuitively felt like I had a brother. And that kind of part of what drove me to like, to try and find Tom. And I never knew if Tom was my dad, but I thought, well, if I can just see a photograph of him, I'll know if he's my dad or not. And my mother had a photograph of him, but her husband, Bob, made her get rid of it. So I'm like, why didn't you give it to my grandmother to hang on to?
Totally.
But she got rid of it. That's a good housewife.
Yes.
And cleaned house. So in 2004, when DNA stuff started coming around more, my sisters agreed to do a DNA test with me to see if we were half or full siblings. Because I thought that'll tell me a lot. Well, technology was old then and it was more probabilities. we were probably more half siblings than full siblings, and reading the report was really complicated. So it was kind of non-conclusive. And
That's disappointing.
it really was.
Yeah.
Because it gave me hope that, I had a different dad, but I still wasn't any closer to finding him.
Yeah.
So I kept doing the Google search thing, and I joined 23andMe several years ago. And on 23andMe, I did it more for genetics to find out about my history. Was I Italian or not? Well, I came up as a little bit Italian, but a lot Balkan.
Oh.
And I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So as that platform has progressed, it now says Croatian, and now it says Northern Croatia, and it now also says Italian, Sicilian, Roman, and things like that.
Right.
Actually, Venetian came up also last week as it's continuing to narrow down.
Crazy.
Because more people are in the database, it gives you more information.
Yeah.
But when I was on 23andMe, it didn't have that initially. So what it has was your genetic report. So at Christmas time this year, 7 months ago, I was on my phone on 23andMe, and I'm looking through it, and it says DNA family tree. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Huh.
So I click on it, and I'm like, maternal side, paternal side. And I see some names I recognize on my mother's side, and on the father's side, there's the last name of Dugan.
Oh.
Twice.
My God.
And that was the name I was looking for. So that was the family name. And I thought, oh my God, Tom is officially my father. So I discovered that at Christmas, laying in bed one night with my husband. I'm like, oh my God, I'm really a Dugan.
That's crazy.
So it was exciting, but it's like I still wasn't there yet. I hadn't found him. So I wrote those people on 23andMe. I never heard back. Went more to Google, went over to Ancestry.com, which I had a profile I created when my mother passed away in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I got on there and I started searching trees with the Dugan family name, but there's a lot of them. And I built my own personal profile. And just so you know, if you're passed away, your information will show. But if you're alive, it says keeps it private.
Okay.
But I made my public. And I finally wasn't getting where I wanted to after like 3 months. So I did the DNA tests about 3 months ago. And that gave me a ton of hits for more Dugans. And so
from Ancestry?
From Ancestry.
I see.
So I started emailing all those Dugans because there was like 6 or 7 compared to the 2 on 23andMe.
I see.
Bigger database.
Right.
Bigger reach. And so I emailed those folks. I got a little response, but nothing quite. But I found a 25% match on Ancestry. And I thought, is this my half brother? Is this an uncle? It was neither, but it got me really close to it. So they have a feature on Ancestry that is look at your DNA family map, which shows your relatives around the country. And so I think my cousin clicked on there. Who's this new guy in LA? That's my cousin. She clicked on it. She looked at my profile. She's like, this guy doesn't know who his dad is, but I do. So she emailed me. And so that was May 18th.
Oh my God.
So that was the moment.
So the cousin found you.
She found me.
Wow.
In fact, I was just texting with her 5 minutes ago. I'm going to go meet her this Sunday.
No.
She's the gatekeeper, the one that opened the bridge to Tom. So she sent me her information. She sent me her Facebook profile. I clicked on it, looked her over, and got a sense of her, and friend requested her. And within minutes, my phone started blowing up with Messenger. And the conversation just went. And she's like, I know who your dad is. His name is Tommy. He lives in Ohio. He's in Warren. Here's his phone number.
My God.
It was just like the gates opened up.
So that was her uncle.
That was, no. So that was her cousin. His mother and her mother were sisters.
Got it.
So they were like first cousins, second cousins.
First cousins.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So she's like, so do you want to call him? Do you want me to call him? I said, I think you should call him. He might think I'm a crackhead looking for cash. You know what I mean? So that's what she did. The next day she called him and said, I got news for you. He's like, well, what's that? Good news or bad news? She goes, it's good news. He's like, okay, well, what's that? He's like, you have a son. 79. He's finding out he's got a son. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, Connie from Bremerton, Washington. And he remembered her and he was like, oh my God. So he knew it was true.
Oh my God.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
he remembered her.
He remembered her.
And what did he say to his cousin?
I think he was just stunned. He knew I wanted to talk to him. So he needed a couple of days to process it.
Yeah.
And he it was sort of funny because it's like we set up a time to talk on that Sunday, which is about 3 days out. But the very next day, I started getting text messages and things on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, YouTube. Hi, I'm your new sister, Michelle. You and your husband Rico are such a handsome couple. I can't wait to meet you. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, so I'm discovering I have sisters through text messages, 3 of them.
Oh my
And
God.
they're like, yeah, Dad just put on his Facebook page that, your name and your webpage. And we're like, did you get hacked? What's going on? No, I have a son. So he starts telling everybody immediately, which was,
wow.
he was owning it. He was excited because he's an Italian man who never had a son.
Oh my
So,
God.
Yeah. So I don't have a brother. There was no brother like I intuitively thought.
Right.
But now I've got 5 sisters in total. So
That's crazy.
yeah. So
Wow. I can't believe he did that right away.
he just walked right into it. He was so brave. He embraced it.
Yeah, that's very
Um,
brave.
And he agreed to talk to me. So on that Sunday, by then I had a sense of things because the sisters had been reaching out to me, like I said, through social media. And we sat down for like 2 hours and talked via phone. And he walked me through his whole life,
Oh.
going to Vietnam, how he met my mother, just everything. So it was really, it was so wild because we arranged for 8:00 in the morning and I got up early, brushed my teeth, and I got kind of in that mindset. I'm like, okay, this is a whole new threshold.
Yeah.
So it's like, I looked at my phone and I'm like, the minute I hit that number that I had put in my phone for, Tom Dugan, it's like, it's going to change
It's
everything.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's he going to sound like, And kind, easygoing, gentle, mild-mannered. And we just talked and talked and talked. So
He sounds like you. Kind,
Right. Oh, thank
easygoing,
you.
gentle, mild mannered.
I thought you meant the talking part.
Well, no, the talking part, that's great too. But no, all those
Yeah.
qualities you described is very much who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's who someone who would post that on their Facebook page would be.
Mhm.
Someone who's kind and warm and gentle hearted and
Yeah.
probably would have just have loved to have had you as a son.
I think he would have.
I think so.
I said to him right away, I said, I really want to come meet you if that's okay. And he said yes. And I could tell by the tone of the conversations with my new sisters that they were okay with me bringing my husband, because that's the middle of Ohio. And it's, my
You
husband's
never know.
black. So it's a gay, interracial. And I'm like, well, but they were all so cool with it. They opened the doors wide open.
Oh,
We flew to Ohio on my birthday.
amazing.
And I met my father on my 59th birthday.
Shut up.
Yeah. So it's been 5 weeks since that happened. And there's a sense of completeness now that I just feel much more relaxed about the whole thing. Because that question after 40 years has finally been answered.
That's insane.
It's like, I know fully who I am. And now I see photographs of people that I look like,
yeah.
and because I have never seen a grandfather photo in my entire life.
Right.
Because even my mother didn't know her father. So it's interesting how these things are generational and have repeated themselves, at least in my life. So
That's fascinating. I have such a deep connection to my family.
Yeah.
And I know so much about generations of my family. I had great grandparents for years, and I had one great grandmother that lived until I was in high school. I mean, like, she was
That's
old as
amazing.
dirt. Her name was Granny Sellers, and lady, let me tell you, that lady was old.
Granny Sellers.
Granny Sellers. But the groundedness I have from having this enormous root system, so to speak,
Yeah.
right? I know everything about all these people from personal experience from a lot of them. I had all 4 grandparents. I lost my last grandmother this past December. I'm 52.
That's amazing. You're so lucky, really.
So lucky.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having that question for all of your adult life.
Well, it's sort of funny. It's like, it is what it is. I mean, I knew my grandmother. My mother helped take care of my grandmother, but my grandmother was married multiple times, and not to the man that was my mother's father. So there was like no real strong male figures in the family,
Mm.
and with the man that my mom married, his parents were in Pennsylvania. So they were never around. I met him once when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
And when my mother divorced him, they disappeared. We haven't had another conversation, another card. So there was no getting to the other side of the family. So you make do with what you got, and
Yeah.
you forge your own path and stuff. But in the last, 6 or 7 months now, I've seen a photograph of my biological father and my mother's biological father, which I also found on Ancestry.
No.
So it's wild to see the photographs and see how you look like either side at the same time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I bet your sisters liked that.
I think so. It's I sent them the picture the minute I found it. I'm like, this is our grandfather. This is our mother's father, you
Yeah.
know? And I think I was more excited than they were. I think they've got kids and grandkids, and they've got their whole family. So I'm like, oh, that's nice. Okay, cool, you know? So, but I'm like, here's another piece of the puzzle, you know?
So now how do your half sisters with your mom feel about the half sisters with your dad in this whole process? How do they feel about that?
They've been really supportive.
Have they?
They've been really amazing. And in fact, they were willing to go with me to meet my dad.
Oh,
I mean, it was really sweet.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. So it will happen at some point. They want to
Yeah.
go to Ohio to meet him. And I can't wait to have a photograph of all 5 of my sisters.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, but getting to go there and meet everybody anyway was already so interesting. Because we went on my birthday, as I said. My dad ended up in the hospital.
Oh.
So I met him in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're on TikTok, you can find that video or Instagram. But yeah, we went in there and met him. He'd had a little infection and was having some mobility issues. So he was there for about 5 or 6 days, and then so all the time that we met with him was in the hospital. And there he'd planned for a dinner to take me to his favorite Italian restaurant there in Niles. And they were like, well, do you want to cancel it? I'm like, I'm coming to Ohio. Whether he's in the hospital or not, I'm going to meet this man I've waited 40 years to meet. If I have to meet him on the side of the road, I'm showing up. You know?
Right.
So his wife, Joanne, was like, okay, well, then we'll keep the dinner date as it was. And Rico and I pull up to the restaurant, and there is all these people like, oh my God, there he is. I felt like Bert Kreischer at one of his concerts or one of his shows.
Right.
There he is. Oh, he looks like so-and-so. He looks like Uncle Tommy. He looks like Danny. He looks like, whoever in the family, it's like, oh, you can't deny his family, And so they were all just like so excited to meet me. And it was like the most amazing meal at this Italian restaurant. And there's a dozen of us there. And I'm meeting all 3 of my sisters, my Aunt Stephanie, one of my uncles, my stepmother. I have a stepmother now.
Yeah.
And it was just so great to like put the pieces together and stuff.
That's amazing.
And it's also interesting in photographs when you think you don't look like somebody, but a photograph always tells you another story.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. So I looked a lot like my sisters more than I thought when I saw the photographs.
Yeah.
So
you showed me a picture, and you definitely look like your sisters.
Yeah.
And you look like your dad.
Yeah.
You look very much like your dad.
Especially in his early years with the dark hair.
Yeah. It's kind of undeniable.
Yeah. It's been so funny. We FaceTimed this weekend for an hour and 20 minutes or so. And Rico's like, he's like, you guys do the same mannerisms. It's like your eyebrow, the way it goes up when you talk. There's, putting your hand above your head when you're on the phone and talking and stuff. And the snarky, dry sense of humor, the dry delivery. So it's great that my husband can see that when I'm sort of oblivious to it, So
how's he feel about this whole process?
He's really excited.
I'm sure he is.
He's so happy that I found this thing I've been looking for. And he also has his own story with his father. So this is kind of inspiring him to maybe look a little closer at that story and see what that might look like for him. But not everybody has this remarkable open arms experience, And
I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
I think it's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it helps that he and your mom were together before your sister's mom was with him. I'm sure that helps a lot.
Yeah.
That this was something that happened before.
Yeah.
Not something that happened during.
Right. And that was my concern also.
Yeah.
But he had spent the 5 years in the military before he came home and started his family.
Right.
And the cool thing also is when I was showing him photographs of my mother on the phone, he's like, that's the photograph I have. I have that photograph in my files. And he was trying to find it to show me. And it was her high school graduation photograph, the hand tinted ones from I guess it would have been the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
So that made me feel great that he still had her photograph. And you could see him looking at the pictures, wondering what their life might have been like.
Yeah.
If he would have known, because if he would have known, he would have been there.
Yeah, I think so.
So he wouldn't have, been off, and he would have been back. So
yeah. He had just had no idea.
Had no idea.
What a crazy, wonderful, inspiring, amazing story.
Thank you.
So what is Christmas going to be like this year?
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to get my second trip back there. I'm trying to, my sisters, like I say, Tina and Tammy in Seattle, they want to go with me and meet everybody. So I need to get online and try and figure out when we could all fly and be there together and stuff.
Yeah.
But Ohio is absolutely beautiful.
Isn't it?
So green and lush.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the cities there are great. Well, don't say where he is, but tell me later.
Between Cleveland and Youngstown. So he's in the middle of Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's beautiful over there.
Well, and the funny thing, I don't know if I told you the story, that Rico had been in that town in 2016.
No.
So we were having dinner at the Italian restaurant. And as we're driving home with Joanne, Tom's wife, Rico's like, what's that restaurant over there? He's like, I've eaten there before. She goes, well, it used to be this, but now it's that. And he's like, our crew came through here in 2016 when we were filming a reality show, and they all ate there. And I thought, what are the chances that you might have been having dinner next to my dad 5 years ago? They could have been at that restaurant. So
crazy.
And something else that's really wild. I don't know if I told you about that. Rico had interviewed a medium. They interviewed a medium for that show.
Oh no.
So her name is Lisa Williams, I think. And so Rico had to pick her up at the airport and drive her to set. And the minute they started driving, she started channeling. Someone came through, and it was my mother. Because she's been deceased since 2014. And this woman says, well, there's a mother figure here, but I don't think she's your mom because she's white, you know?
Yeah.
So they start talking about it. And she quoted a conversation Rico and I had the night before.
No.
Which was me saying, you know, you need to eat better. You need to take better care of yourself. And so he knew that she was spot on when that came up. But she also started talking about my father and all this unfinished business. And so he didn't understand that because of what she was referring to, I think, was Tom there in Ohio, the unfinished business, not the guy that she divorced and whatnot. So it was a really weird thing when he had that revelation while we were there visiting my dad. He started telling me the whole story with her. And I thought, this is insane that from the afterlife, mom was trying to like, hey, you know, there's something more you need to know.
Take a left on the next street.
Basically.
Right?
So yeah. So
wow. That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
So it's clearly meant to be. Somebody was working from the other side trying to get us together so we could meet and stuff.
It was divine.
It was divine. You're right.
It was divine.
Yeah.
It happened when it was supposed to happen for whatever reason.
Yeah.
How's his health? How's your dad's health?
He's getting better. He's getting stronger. He's doing physical therapy.
Good.
So he's able to get up out of his chair without his walker. So he's happy about that.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
Yeah, he's good.
Other than that, health's okay?
I think so, as far as I know.
That's good.
Yeah, he retired in 1999, so he's been playing golf for 20 years and just really enjoying his life and stuff. But he's been slowing down a little bit. But hopefully having me in his life will kind of get him going again a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to take him on a cruise to Italy and Croatia to see the old country he's never been.
Oh, wow.
So that's my goal for us for next year. So
wow.
We'll see if it's meant to be.
That's a great goal.
But I told him when we were texting back and forth, I said, you know, life gave us a bonus round.
Yeah.
So
that's a great way. Oh, it's a great way to look at it. Wow, what a gift.
And also,
you have his dog tag? Yeah. How did you have that? Did he give it to you?
He gave it to me when I was there.
Oh, that's so special. That's amazing. Because you're his son.
Yeah.
His only one. Romy, that's amazing.
Crazy, right?
It's okay. It's really powerful. It should be emotional. If it weren't emotional, we'd be suspicious.
Right. Where's that cash for the crack?
Right?
But I think about these dog tags. I'm like, did my mother ever see these dog tags on him? Did she see him wearing these dog tags?
I'm sure she had
Did she ever touch them before?
She had to have.
So I'm like, this piece of metal has so much history. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
My dogs are excited. Can you hear them?
I can. Bring them in.
I mean, what an amazing, amazing story. Yeah. Well, maybe you should call this medium that I saw and see if you can talk to your mom about it.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
That's a really great idea.
You should. He's coming. He's going to be next week's guest.
Uh-huh.
But he's not a joke. He's for real. He's a real medium.
Okay.
Like lots of people showed up for me that there's no way he could have known who they were. He physically described people, described ailments they had that they'd passed away from that no one knows about. It was bizarre. So I bet you he could have a little conversation with Connie.
I bet. And yeah, that would be really cool.
Wouldn't it?
That would be amazing. I mean, the fact that she came through in the last reading in 2016 was great.
She's trying to communicate.
Yeah. Even the dog came through in that one. Which
the
is
dog?
Coco, the one that we...
No.
Yeah, the little white palm.
Yeah.
She's like, there's also this dog that keeps coming through. He's like, well, I don't know what dog Romi's mom had. She's like, it's like, it's bright, it's white, it's light. He goes, that's Coco. Coco's not dead. Doesn't matter. The dog came through in the reading.
How about that?
And there's like a connection there. So I found that interesting that could actually happen with a live pet. So Pet Cemetery. No.
Pet Cemetery. Oh my God. This week's podcast is brought to you by HelloFresh.
HelloFresh, one of my favorite sponsors we get on podcasts, because this has been the one thing to bring our family closer.
I agree.
It is so hard to get children to go out of their comfort level with their taste buds.
Yep.
And when you get these amazing recipes delivered right to your door.
Yep.
It's, first of all, it's cheaper than anywhere you're going to get it at a restaurant made for you. It's just as nice, and it saves time in the grocery store. You don't have to go to the grocery store, just delivered right to your door, and it brings your family together so you can all have a great meal. Tell them, Leanne.
I agree. What's really cool nowadays is we have a lot of 18-year-olds in our house, and I'll come home and they'll just be cooking a HelloFresh because it is a complete meal that is in our fridge, no thoughts, no brain involved. They just pull out the recipe card and get to work. They love it.
What did you guys make? And they're like a chicken risotto carbonara or some shit.
Turkey patties with lettuce cups. And you're like, what?
Every meal they have is fantastic.
Yes. You can select your meals from the Taste of the Summer series, and they are sure to become everyone's new favorites, like Old Bay shrimp and sausage boil, family style grilled steak lettuce wraps. You can also, I don't know if you know this, is summer. So if you're going away for the summer.
I actually do know this. You can have your meal delivered to where you're going.
You can.
I do know that.
How crazy is that? So when you go to an Airbnb, you can have your HelloFresh, and that's 2 or 3 meals you don't even have to think about.
It's so nice, especially if you're going on vacation with your family and not to think about it and go, oh, we're going to have amazing meals delivered right to our Airbnb. Fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. We genuinely use and love this product.
We have a drawer dedicated to HelloFresh in our refrigerator, a whole drawer, and we organize our HelloFreshes.
Yep.
Like right to left. It's really fucking awesome.
We do. And then it's, again, no brain. Your kids go in, they pull out the bag, the meat's right there. It's all in one drawer.
Or sometimes they go in and steal the rolls for the fucking cheeseburgers you're supposed to make.
Is that what happened?
They stole the rolls. They stole the rolls. They're like, oh, wow, these are nice little buns. And then they made breakfast sandwiches with them because we didn't have bread in the house. And then I had to, but it was not bad because I made a keto meal.
You know
myself.
why? It's because all teenagers are criminals.
Yes.
They're total criminals.
Tell them where they can get HelloFresh, Leanne.
Go to HelloFresh.com/wife16 and use the code WIFE16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's right. Go to HelloFresh.com/wife16 and use the code WIFE16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
I bet HelloFresh watches this ad and they're like, no. I like that Bert was in it, but
he should have a shirt on.
Could he have worn a shirt? I mean, we are trying to sell food here, Bert.
Is he wearing pants?
I guess I get him given expertise in eating. They're like, man, that guy fucks up HelloFresh.
Anyway, go to HelloFresh.com/wife16. Use the code wife16 for 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
Right.
No, he was talking about all kinds of people that were alive too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he my dad's having some heart issues. He's trying to figure out. He's fine, but he keeps getting out of breath. And while he was here, he kept going, "Who's out of breath? Who's out of breath all the time?" And I was like, "That's my dad." Well, he needs to take care of this condition. I don't know what it is, but he needs to handle it. And then, who has acid reflux? And I was like, that would be my husband. And he goes, he's newly medicated. I said, yes, he is newly medicated. That's good, but he's got to change what he's eating because that's what's causing it.
God.
So he did talk about people who are still here.
That's awesome then. That's great.
Yeah, and he read my cards.
So did you record it or did he record it for you?
I didn't record it.
Okay.
No, I never do.
Oh.
I don't ever. I feel like the way I approach a reading is I go, God, what do you want me to hear?
Yeah.
And I absorb what I'm supposed to absorb.
Yeah.
And then I try to tell it to somebody right away so I can remember everything. And then I just go, well, what I need to keep will stay and the rest will go back into the universe and I don't need it. So, because I don't like to go back and listen. My mom used to record all her psychic readings and she was very into it and she would obsess over it and she would make it so, it would almost become a roadmap instead of just allowing your life.
Yeah.
And then listening to these things and letting what's supposed to stick. Because, there were a couple things he said where I was like, I don't know what that is. And that's not me. There's not. but there are other people in this house. And he was like, sometimes people show up from somebody in the next room.
Okay.
So this, if it's not resonating with you, then it's not yours.
Okay.
So,
It's funny because in several psychic readings Rico and I have had, they always think Rico's the writer. They're like, who's the writer? There's like this amazing writer in the family. And, so, are you a great writer? And Rico's like, I don't write, but I'm like, I'm the one who's writing a book. I'm the one who's like writing, a blog and doing all kinds of writing. So it's interesting how that does come through, and they can be like 1 degree off.
It's true.
Yeah.
The girls were sitting side by side, and sometimes what he was saying to Georgia, I thought, that might be for Isla.
Okay.
But he kept thinking it was for Georgia. But anyway, it was very cool. That'd be cool to see if he could tune in and talk to Connie.
Yeah. I'm sure she's front and center.
You think?
She has been in so many of my dreams.
She has.
Yeah.
Just recently with all this going on, or just since she passed?
But what's happened recently was for like 9 months, feathers kept showing up in front of me on the ground in the most random places. When I was in Paris walking through the park, there's feathers on the Tuileries. In the parking lot of the salon. Actually, before I went on this trip, the day that I was leaving, I was taking the trash out, and there on the ground were 3 little feathers kind of rolling through. And I glanced at them. I took the trash back, and I thought, oh, maybe I should pick them up. And the wind was carrying them across the parking lot. So I grabbed them, took a shot of it. And I thought, it's kind of like mother, father, son. I mean, I thought it's like the 3 being completed.
Yeah.
But when my niece was pregnant, when my mother died, she knew that she was going to be a great grandmother. Because my niece was maybe 3 months along. And so when my niece went into labor in July of, I got the call or the text in the morning that she was going into labor, and I fell back asleep. And in my dream, I'm in the Northwest. I'm walking up a road covered with snow, and I see snowballs going overhead, like there's a snowball fight. And as I walk up and I walk into this field or this yard, whatever, it's all covered in snow, and it's like little snowmen and children as little snowmen, and the snowballs are flying around. And my grandmother comes through, something under her arm. She pushes by, and I'm like, okay, and she just comes through the dream. I've never dreamt about my grandmother in 20 years.
Really?
And so that was weird. And then I see the parking lot for the hospital. And then I'm in the hospital, and I'm in the reception room of the hospital, which is where my niece is having the baby. And my mom comes out from behind. And I'm like, what are you doing here? You're dead. She just smiled, and she went back. And I realized, oh my God, she's there on the other side while the grandbaby's coming through.
Wow.
And my grandmother is too. And so I relayed the story to my niece, and she's like, oh yeah, grandma was there. I felt her presence completely.
Yeah.
So, and to this day, she still has experiences like that with her.
That's crazy.
She actually showed up on a video camera.
She did?
My niece was having problems. There was this young boy who sort of sees ghosts, and she was caretaking this little boy. And so the boy was talking about something he was seeing in the other room that was very scary. And so my niece asked my mother to show up and protect her. And that night on her motion camera, it was something censored, something went across it, and it was a flash of light. And I have a screenshot of it somewhere that looks like a butterfly.
Wow.
And she's like, that had to be grandma. They're watching over the house and watching over the kids.
Yeah.
That's our summation of it,
Yeah.
So, so it's fun when those little moments happen that kind of, you feel like there's another dimension there. And
it is.
people are working hard to protect you from the other side. So.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Now, when he was here the other day, I thought I would cry. I thought I would be upset, like missing my grandparents, because almost as soon as he started talking, he said, there's a huge man in this room. He's huge. My grandfather was 6'4". Okay. He's like big guy. He's not fat. He's just really big, and he's really happy. And so many people like him. Do you know who this is? And I went, yeah, I know exactly who that is. And then his wife is coming up, and she's shaped like a barrel. And I went, yep, that's my grandma. That's Granny. He goes, and she's telling me, I wasn't always shaped like a barrel. The boys loved me back in the day. And I went, yep, that's my granny. That's it. She's told me that herself.
So cute.
And so I just felt so full.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I missed you.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like grief or sadness or even necessarily joy. I just felt really full.
That's neat.
It was a
Almost
great
kind of
feeling.
like reaffirming and wow.
That they
Maybe it's
love,
like-
that I have love.
Yeah.
I'm just surrounded by love. You know, they loved me so much, and they told him that. And I knew that. That was one place where I just never had any doubts about anything ever. That I was cared for, that I was loved, that I was seen, considered, part of the family. I just never, it was like the one place was their house where everything was just okay. And everything was okay for the most part at my dad's house, but you know, that's your dad. It's a little different connection than grandparents who really just, you know, don't discipline you,
Right.
aren't watching over you to make sure you're acting right
They just
like
spoil
a
you a little
dad
bit more.
does. Yeah.
They don't have to be a good cop, bad cop anymore. They can just have fun.
They just be good. They just be
Yeah.
fun. And, you know, not that they didn't discipline me, but it was not the same. It was just such a comfortable place, their house.
That's
So
great.
I just felt so full. It was really a gift that guy gave me. I felt like I got a gift.
That's so cool.
On
Well,
Tuesday.
I will definitely have to call him.
You'll
and
have to call him.
I do have to do that.
He was amazing.
And like I said, Rico is so into to that sort of stuff.
He is.
He found us this Chinese astrologist in Thailand who does Chinese astrology. He's actually not Chinese. And we did a reading last year. It was pretty amazing. And I did a touch up with him or a freshen up at the first of the year. And he said to me, he's like, your grandfather on your mother's side is watching over you. I said, well, I never met the guy. He goes, doesn't matter. You're like the son he never had.
Oh.
And that got me thinking. And that's how I ended up finding that photograph of him. He's the one that I found first. I remember my mother had a half brother. Since she never met her father, she did meet her half brother in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And so I Googled him and found out he died a year after my mother did. But in watching that video from the chapel, there were the grandparents. And that's where I found the photograph of my biological grandfather, on my mother's father. It wasn't her mother, but it was her father. And so I screenshotted that, and that's the one I sent out to my sisters. But I remember my mother also saying to me, you know, he never wanted to meet me but he denied I was his, but he always wanted to meet you because you were the spitting image of him. So I remember having my grandmother taking me to a convalescent home when I was like 9 or 10 and meeting this elderly man. And when I put this stuff together through the DNA profile, because you can put all this on there with census reports and other data, it showed me that my grandmother was 22 when she met this man. My grandfather was 44. So it's the 20-year spread with their relationship, which was scandalous in the 40s.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a fair. But it showed me the timeline of when he died, which was 1974.
Okay.
So it let me add this other piece of the puzzle and kind of get a picture of their relationship. And I thought, if I met him when I was 10, that means my grandmother stayed in touch with him for 30 years.
Wow.
So she went on to have other marriages and have more children. But I was like, I'm dying to know more about that.
Yeah,
Come
totally.
on, ancestry, give me some more,
Yeah.
some more dirt, you know?
So
But-
how fascinating also that you and your mother had similar paths.
Yes.
That's crazy.
They say that sometimes that happens in relationships.
Really?
There's something about this, another kind of astrology, this like, or cosmology, that these cycles repeat themselves sometimes in family situations. So maybe I'm breaking the chain or breaking the cycle by finding my biological father, and grandfather. So
That's
on the other
crazy.
side.
I didn't know that those things repeated themselves. I had no idea.
I've heard that before. So
Really crazy that your mom went through it and then you went through it.
yeah. And my husband's going through it.
He is?
Yeah, because he's never met his biological father either.
And does he know who he is?
He does. He hasn't wanted to look him up.
He hasn't wanted to look him up.
Yeah.
Why?
Because his father never came to the hospital when he was born. So
he's just been totally out of the picture.
yeah, he feels, that's a heavy load to bear.
Yeah.
And his mother was dating the man for 5 years, so
So it was a relationship.
it was a relationship. But he apparently had another relationship going too, so he made a choice. So
But did he choose to stay in that other relationship or don't know?
nobody knows.
So Rigo's mom doesn't even know.
She doesn't know for sure. She's been trying to find him herself a little bit to give Rico more answers.
Yeah.
So it's it strikes at the core of who we are, not always knowing where we came from and why we were rejected or why we weren't accepted. So my story is inspiring him to look a little deeper and a little closer, but his sensitivity to things is much higher than mine.
Yeah, he is
And
quite
it could be
sensitive.
devastating for him if it's not something that works in his favor, you know?
He's a very
So,
sweet man.
The
He's
biggest, best smile.
Yes, he has the biggest, best. I love his smile.
Yeah.
And he's just got such an open, friendly
And he
constitution.
goes to the heart with everybody he meets.
Yeah.
There's always that connection right up front.
Yep.
My family in Ohio loved him. He made best friends with everybody.
Yep.
He's very special that way.
He is. He's very warm.
And I also feel like he deserves to have some answers too.
Absolutely.
You know, and he's a father himself. He had a child when he was 25. So now as a dad and as a stepdad, it's like, you know, we see how we feel about our children, and it's like, how could somebody walk away and not be there for us?
Yeah.
So what was that life experience? What were they going through that they made that choice?
Yeah.
You know, maybe we never know. Maybe we'll get to know. So
Be great to know.
yeah,
Or maybe not.
I know.
You know, that's the hard part is there are people who are not nice.
I know.
There are people who are not good.
Yeah.
And you know, that's something this medium talked to me about my mom quite a bit.
Okay.
He said, your mom's not doing well. What do you know about that? And I said, I don't know anything about that. I don't have a relationship with her. And he got very heavy. He got very physically heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, oh, okay, she is been married a lot. I said, yes, she's been married 6 times. So I'd call that a lot. I don't know about you. But he said a lot of other things about her that I don't want to say on the podcast. But what he said to me ultimately was, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you could have done to fix this relationship. This is not you.
And I know you've worked on it for a lot over the years I've known you.
Yeah. A long time. With her and without her. You know, I tried very hard for a long time, till I was 33, to really have something.
Yeah.
You know, and when I was pregnant with Georgia, and her behavior was again something that was just like, what? You know, when you say, I don't know you, I don't want to know you, I don't want to know your children, you're not my daughter, I want you out of my life entirely. When you're
literally said that?
I have it in writing. She said it in an email, and I printed it so that I would never forget it, because I thought, this time you will not be doing this to my children.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been our relationship from the beginning, and I didn't know any better, and I had no one to help me figure it out. But I'm here to help my kids figure this out, and this will not be happening.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to get close to one of my kids and then go, oh, you didn't do what I said, so now you're dead to me, and I'm going to disconnect you from, because this was the 3rd time she'd done that in my life.
Is that a form of narcissism, do you think? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's from what I understand and from the books I've read, she's not diagnosed professionally. It's definitely a borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
I think there is narcissism as a personality disorder, and from what I've read about it, I think that's what she has, but she has not been diagnosed because there's nothing wrong with her.
Got it.
Most personality disorder,
Everything works for her.
nothing wrong with her. It's always the other person that's the bad person or the problem. So, you know, as much as Rico may want to find out who his dad is, you know,
that
it
rejection
may not be
factor,
great.
and that rejection factor could send him over the edge.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like he's had to struggle with, you know, feeling okay with who he is, and blazing his own path as a black man.
Right.
You know, I've had to blaze my own path also. And this is what's so remarkable about him, is that, you know, he's also raised 3 stepsons as well as his own biological son.
Right.
And it's the most amazing father to all of them.
Yeah.
So it's an innate gift, right?
Yeah.
Your mother, I mean, clearly, sometimes having grandkids, maybe that will make her feel more maternal and she'll come into the family more. It's like, clearly not.
No.
You know, and with the guy that raised me as my father, Bob, I closed the door on that at 18 and cracked it open a couple times, but I realized there's nothing there. And the spiritual approach I always took to this was like, well, you know what? I came here karmically to work it out with Bob.
Totally.
The work is done.
Yep.
And if it's meant to be, I'll get to meet the other guy who might be my biological father. And if not, that's okay too.
Yeah.
But I always just wanted to see a photograph. The photograph would give me closure.
Yeah.
And I got the whole freaking jackpot.
You got the burrito and the refried beans. You got the whole platter. It's so amazing.
Yeah. So 40 years that perseverance paid off. But, you know, and I think about my sisters, Tina and Tammy, who don't have a father figure to this day, you know. And
Because Bob is their father.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's been an absent father. I mean, did I tell you about the story about us running into him alongside the road that one day?
You can tell me again.
I can tell you again.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2014, when my mother passed away, my sisters had been seeing Bob around town a lot in the small town that we grew up in. And he has this very distinct truck. It's a 1956 Chevy panel truck. It was my first car I ever drove as a kid. And he's painted it candy apple red. So when you see it around town, you know that's him.
Yeah.
So, and they had seen him at some car shows, and they, you know, I said, well, maybe there's unfinished business. Maybe you're meant to talk to him. Oh, no. Right. I'm like, okay, well, it's just my, you know, LA, you know, kind of hoity-toity kind of spiritual, you know, stuff. Right. So, I go up there to help my sisters 6 months after my mother passed away in the summer of 2014. And as we're driving from one sister's house to the other to go do the banking and close up the estate, there's that truck parked along the side of the road. He's sitting there in a lawn chair selling stuff out of the truck.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh God. And my sister's like, I want to stop and talk to him. I'm like, okay.
All
this
three
isn't
of his
supposed to
kids.
happen on my watch.
Right.
That's, you know, so we go pick up Tammy and we come back and Tammy does not want to do this. She's just sitting there going, oh my God, you know, this is the last thing she wants. And so her husband and her son follow in another car. And me, Tina, and Tammy get out of the car. And we're always like the Three Musketeers. We're strong because of what we've gone through together, right? So we're going to do this together. And Tina says to Bob, she's like, hi, do you know who we are? Yeah. Well, who are we? Well, you're my daughter and that's my son. Okay. Well, we just wanted to tell you that, you know, that mom passed away. Yeah, I know. I've seen it in the paper. Okay. And so they go back and forth and they talk a little bit about stuff. Yeah, our friend so-and-so's got cancer and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I see him looking at my sister in a way that he shouldn't be looking at my sister.
Ugh.
That brings up old stuff from the past. And I went over and got between the two of them, changed the subject, started talking about the truck. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's one of the two loves of my life, that and my wife, Carol, you know, and they're going to bury me in that truck. And, you know, and I thought, oh my God, you're standing here in front of your children telling them that the two loves of your life are your wife and your truck. Oh, and by the way, my other sister, Tammy, that you haven't said two words to, that's her son standing back there.
Oh
That's your grandson.
Yeah.
He never once said a word to her.
Wow.
Never said, is that my grandson?
Wow.
You talk about checked out.
Yeah.
We left after about 10 minutes and we were like dumbfounded at how benign the conversation was.
Yeah.
I'm like, does he have any empathy? Does he have any feeling?
No,
I mean,
I think
it was so disconnected. So I think, well, what if he hears the story about me finding my biological father? Will he ever reach out to me? Will he have any thoughts about it?
No.
Will it affect him in any way?
No.
Oh, and I think the two knew each other in the Navy also.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I asked Tom if he knew Bob, and he's like, yeah, I knew Bob would, you know. So there may be another chapter to evolve out of this whole thing. But it's so interesting how intertwined these things can be and stuff. But if nothing else, having that conversation, my sister got some closure, and she took the bull by the horns, had a conversation with him, got a letter from him apologizing for what went down earlier in life. And she got some closure, which I think it was worth it for her closure.
That's good.
You know, she really deserved that and needed that.
You know, sometimes validation is the thing that you need to move forward.
Yeah.
Just some kind of, you are right. Yeah. Or you did experience that.
Yeah.
Or this did happen to you. Or your life was hard, even for someone who is involved in that life to say, this was hard.
Yeah.
It kind of opens a door. It really does. Yeah. I had an aunt who reached out to me after listening to my podcast. One of my podcasts, I was talking about something with my mom, and she was my mom's brother's wife. So she was my aunt by marriage. Okay. They divorced when we were really young, but she reached out to me and said, I'm so sorry. I had no idea this was happening for you.
Wow.
And I should have. I was your aunt.
Yeah.
And I should have. And no, she shouldn't have. She had 2 kids, same age as mine. You know, she remarried and moved on.
Yeah.
So really, as adults, we go, no, you shouldn't have really. But the apology meant more than anything in the world. It just meant so much to me to be seen and to be validated that no one said, you know, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
Or, are you sure about that? Are you remembering that right? Or, well, I just can't imagine that Judy Ann would do that. You know, no, my Aunt Jean was like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm really sorry you were left in that. And, you know, where you go, wow, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
for just seeing me.
Yeah. To know that you're not crazy.
Yes,
Yeah.
just to know you're not crazy, and to know that you're seen. To be seen is so important.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what your sister got. If that gave her some closure, that's very powerful and amazing, and a gift
Truly.
that Bob gave her.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a crazy book that I've read. Oh, the woman who wrote the Vagina Monologues wrote a book. I can't remember the name of it, but her father molested her growing up.
Okay.
Passed away. And she wrote an apology letter from him to her as a book.
Really?
And it was powerful.
I can't even imagine.
She said it was extremely healing for her because she got the apology she would never get. And she got to process through her own experience from her own point of view in receiving that apology.
Wow.
It was a really powerful, it was not an easy book to read.
I can't imagine.
But it was, oh, thank you, Halston. It's called The Apology by Eve Ensler.
Okay.
So I don't know if your sister would be interested in reading anything like that. And I don't even know if that's the circumstance under which she got an apology, but something that really happens is really powerful like that, that is often denied by everybody in the family, in the circumstance, which was what was happening for Eve Ensler. And I mean, she was having serious mental health problems at, in her teenage years and directly related to this abuse. And I believe her, everybody in the family just wanted to sweep everything under the rug. And, I'm sure Eve Ensler's in her 50s. She's got to be, or 60s. She's older than me, but it was a great book.
Wow. I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something I've always wanted for myself from Bob, as an apology for the horrors he put me through growing up.
Yeah.
And I know that I probably won't get it. But that's why getting to meet my biological father kind of gave me it. I don't say gave me an out, but it gave me a chance to sort of be grounded in a different way, because I couldn't even say the word dad.
Yeah.
It could not come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it was such a bitter, horrible word.
Right.
It's such a horrible connotation to it.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to my sisters, Tina and Tammy, in Seattle, after meeting my father, and I used the word dad, they go, "Did you say dad?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It feels okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel traumatic. It doesn't feel horrible or vile or nasty."
Yeah.
It's like, it's clean. It's fresh. It's sort of how nice that I can actually say that word, you know? It's weird, but it's like, but my vocabulary got expanded in a way I didn't anticipate.
Well, it meant something very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
The meaning behind it was totally different.
And I think to be met by kindness and compassion from somebody you don't know, that which is very fatherly. It's like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When you are rejected or abused or really not accepted by a parent, it breaks a part of you that's really hard to fix. Okay. I think it breaks a core piece in your psyche. So I was talking about this morning with my therapist, actually, about one of the things the medium said to me was, "You're like a swan. Everything above water is just beautiful and graceful. You're just gliding along. Mm-hmm. And under that water, those feet are flying." They're like, and he was
great
like,
analogy,
right? And he was like, "You have so much going on inside that you don't show anybody." Yeah. Why don't you need a personal assistant? He said, first thing, you need a personal assistant. Second, you need to take more time for yourself. Third, you need to focus more on your own things instead of taking care of everybody else's things. And I went into therapy and I was like, okay, I'm getting this message from so many different avenues and I'm refusing to accept this information. I am really good at listening when the universe speaks. Excellent at it. I'm refusing to hear this. I've heard that basic analogy in different forms for years now, Well,
there's this old adage also about when the universe wants you to get something, it's like, hey.
I know.
Hey.
Boom, right?
So you don't want the bam.
I don't want the bam. So exactly.
You're hearing it. So
well, I said to her, Why am I not getting this message? What is it in my psyche that is refusing to accept it? So what am I afraid of? Or what is it that I don't trust? Or there's something here that's off. And she explained to me, when something happens when you're really young that that is part of your core, it's really hard to fix it. So I learned at a very young age that the only person I could depend on was myself.
Yeah, I get that.
There's no one else dependable.
Yep.
Everything from taking out the garbage to my emotional care and everything in between. I am the only one that I trust to handle it.
Yeah.
This is one of the things the medium said was, you have all this emotion that no one knows about. Why don't you tell them? Are you scared of your emotional life? And I went, no, I'm actually not. I just don't think I want anyone to be bothered.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't want you to be bothered with what's going on with me. So I'll just handle me. And then I'm also not dependent on you to help me, to comfort me, to help me figure out what's going on.
And possibly disappoint me.
To give me relief.
Yeah.
Yes. Or because then I can't depend on anybody.
Yeah.
And I thought, as soon as she said that, I started crying because I thought that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And she said, it's going to be hard because that is such a core that was proven to you at a young age. So what was proven to you was that dad was bad.
Yeah.
At a young age. So forever.
And scary.
And scary and not safe and not loving.
Well, and, you know, from his mentality, you know, the day you can kick your old man's ass, the day you can move out or start paying rent. So, and yeah.
What?
It was a very military kind of point of view. Very, you know, you work, you know, you're going to eat like a fucking horse, you're going to work like a fucking horse around this house. I mean, you know, the day you can kick your old man's ass, the day you can move out or you start paying rent. So it was tough. Drill. Work, scream, yell. He would drink. He was, you know, so volatile. So to go from this mean, scary man who I thought might put a gun to my head.
Yeah.
You know, because he did kill one of our pets with a gun. And, you know, there were times we had to run and hide out while we were waiting for the police to show up because we were afraid that he might pick us off from the woods.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
To seeing this man sitting on the side of the street selling hobo golf,
Hobo golf. What is hobo golf?
It's kind of like horseshoes, but with like twine and rope, and like a golf ball or something. I don't know how it works, but I'm like, who knew the man was crafty? Who knew he could sit here and sell shit? I'm like, this is not the scary man I grew up with. What's happened in these 40 years, but still not a man who's interested in who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, where's your fiber as a being and what do you stand for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a man who couldn't even take responsibility for what he did.
Yeah.
He did with my sister, thank God. But I'm still a little baffled by that, you know. But that's sort of what gave me that work ethic that I worked so hard.
Yeah.
Because that is being acceptable. You're barely acceptable if you keep working really hard.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's where the self-worth comes from. Or if you don't have that, you don't have worth, right?
Right.
So it's complicated for men. There's a whole other level of how things function. So yeah.
It's complicated in general. When you have a broken parent, everything becomes complicated. And it sounds like he was very broken. And, you know, I wonder, not to defend him in any way, shape, or form, but I wonder if the three of you remind him of a time in his life when he was much more broken.
That's a really interesting perspective.
I wonder if he looks at you and goes, that's when I was bad. I'm better now. I'm better with Carol. I'm better making my hobo golf. I'm better. Because, you know, my grandfather was so damaged from World War II and had undiagnosed PTSD until I was in high school. Wow. So at this point, he had lived with it for 40 years or so.
Wow.
And so, and there's like before medication and after medication for him.
Okay.
Before medication, he was terrifying. He was so scary. He never touched me or hit me or anything. But man, as soon as he walked in the door, he was yelling, cussing, screaming, loud, big voice, scary, never happy with my grandmother. She couldn't do anything right ever. And he was just waiting to jump on her as soon. Wow. So it was not a safe.
Yeah.
And that's where my mother was raised. She was raised with that.
Yeah.
So he finally got help. And after that, he he had a few years where he couldn't really regulate his emotions. He just cried a lot. And then after he kind of got everything regulated, we had a lovely relationship.
Wow.
But I wonder if he looks back on that time and has any awareness of how difficult life was for him. I mean, life was almost impossible for him. He could not keep it together. He kept a job. He kept food on the table. He did those things. He checked the basics off.
Right.
But his emotional life was a disaster.
That's so true.
So I think about that from time to time with a lot of people who've gone through some kind of transformation, even if the transformation is a divorce.
Yeah.
And maybe he didn't have the capacity to take care of anybody other than himself.
Oh, clearly. Yeah.
No. And so you may remind him of that. Not that that's
a really good point.
I don't know.
Yeah. I find it interesting that there's no curiosity, to know. But you might be right. Maybe the point is to block it all out and keep it separate and keep it away.
Maybe he's scared.
Yeah.
Maybe he's ashamed of his behavior.
I would hope so.
One would hope so too. And then who wants to go dig around in shame?
Yeah.
It takes a pretty brave person to go, you know what, I'm going to own that thing I'm ashamed of. Not a lot of people go down that path.
That's true.
And, forgiveness, if your sister can find some forgiveness, is such freedom too.
Yeah.
That guy has no power over you.
That's true.
None whatsoever. If you forgive him all his flaws and know that you don't want anything from him. I mean, that's what I did with my mom. At a certain age, I went, thank you for teaching me how to be gregarious with people. Thank you for teaching me how to have fun. Thank you for showing me things in life I never would have seen if I'd stayed in Bowden, Georgia. Thank you for all these amazing things you gave me. And I'm sorry that you were abused when you were a child and that's what caused this. I'm sorry that your dad was a disaster until I was in high school and that's what you had to grow up in. And I'm sorry that you had to deal with all these things.
It's fascinating how some people stay stuck and some people can grow through it.
Isn't it?
What is the difference?
I have been asking that question my whole damn life.
Right?
Yeah, because
some people are self-aware maybe and some aren't.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's their relationship to shame. The shame keeps you just trapped and marred down. And if you can move things from shame into guilt or shame into forgiveness, you can have some forward motion.
Yeah.
But I think if you get marred down in certain emotions, my mom always had to be right.
Oh, really?
And that was part of her defense mechanism. Anything that made her wrong was actually life-threatening to her. Like she felt like you were going for her jugular.
Wow.
When you're like, no, I just want spaghetti. Like I just is lasagna versus spaghetti. You say lasagna, I'm saying spaghetti. That's all we're doing here. And she's like, you're out. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. I just wanted spaghetti. So for her, that kind of she must be right was a survival technique, but you can't be that way and be married.
Yeah.
You can't be that way and have a relationship with a daughter. You could have a dictatorship, an oppressorship, but you can't have a relationship.
Yeah.
So I think she's come to this part in her life. I don't know, but I don't know if she has, I don't know what her relationships are. I know she's not married at the time. And that she's been married 6 times. So she clearly struggled. Those are facts. That's not anything anybody can dispute. Mental health or no, any suspicions I have, she has been divorced 6 times. Wow. So in that math, you say something's not working for her.
That's true. That's true.
Something's not working. She's not getting her lesson.
Is she the one that walks away from the relationships? Do you know?
Always.
Always. Oh, wow.
Yes.
So control power with, being able to handle that.
Yeah.
She wants.
I mean, I remember helping her get ready for her 3rd wedding. And she said, maybe it was her 4th. I don't remember. One of the 3rd or 4th. And I remember her saying, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just get divorced. And I went, well, that's no way. It's your wedding day.
She says it on her wedding day.
Who says that on your wedding day? I mean, wow.
All right, Liz Taylor.
Right? I was like, what the hell? Isn't it expensive to get divorced? I mean, isn't it kind of a pain in the ass? Why wouldn't you just date forever if that's what you're going to do?
Exactly.
You know, if you're like, this is not a permanent place, then why have all that trouble?
Yeah. I wonder what marriage
Anyway.
meant to her. Yeah. I wonder what marriage
Anyway.
meant to her
I
and
don't
why it was so
know.
important for her to be married.
I think she always had hope.
Yeah.
I think she always hoped it would work out. I think she was always a dreamer. She always dreamed big. And some of that dreaming big really paid off for her because
Really?
she was a very successful model. She did amazing things with her life based on where she grew up.
Yeah.
Those things are great. So I think she was always hopeful and always a dreamer.
Mhm.
And she'd hitch up to that white picket fence dream
Yeah.
that she just was never able to sustain. So instead of even doing that and saying, you know what, that dream I keep dreaming may not be the right dream for me.
Mhm.
Maybe I should dream about being happy with somebody instead of being married, which are two different things.
Very different things. Yeah.
But she couldn't make that shift, as far as I know. Maybe she's made that shift and she's doing that now. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know why some people can self-reflect and pivot and why some people can't.
Yeah. It's like the $1 million question.
It is.
Really,
And it's heartbreaking when
Yeah.
you see someone who just can't pivot,
Yeah.
It's
funny because I don't know, in self-reflection and whatnot, it's like, and as I age, I feel so much more secure in who I am. So much more. And the 20s were horrible, right? And the 30s weren't great either. But as the older you live, if you've had some success in life and you be able to kind of self-create the world you wanted to live in, like a salon or a home or whatever, and you feel good about the choices you've made, it does kind of help you feel relaxed in a different way, but also secure. And knowing that you've made it this far and you've done pretty well. I can't imagine making it this far and still be struggling and to be this far in the game and like still not know what where the next paycheck is coming from and stuff. That would be really scary.
Yeah.
So it's
Or just to understand who you are.
Yeah.
Warts and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing is we all have warts, every person. And to be able to say, well, you got them too. So let's walk forward with our warts hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love your warts. You got to love mine.
Right.
Because Lord knows my husband has some warts.
Right.
And I know I do too. So.
That's true.
But I think that's hard for some people.
Yeah.
My mom's never had any warts.
Well, and but to be, and I get the curse with perfectionism thing. And that's what she's cursed with, to try and be, I think, perfect enough for her dad to like her, to love her. And that was, for me, perfectionism came out of that. My mom told me that I would have nightmares and wake up and sit there and fold my clothes as a child because I was so terrified.
Right.
So it was about perfectionism, to be not scolded and to be accepted.
Right.
So once you have that, it's hard to shake perfectionism.
I think it is. I think you're probably right. She definitely has that. And she definitely is going to outbully the bully.
Oh, really? That's quite a skill to have.
Isn't it? Buddy, she's got it. She's got that one in spades. I have a cousin who gets in massive, big arguments with her. And my cousin is like, she always just outbullies me. Damn. Like I'll take it here. And she goes one up. And I go here and she goes one up. And she's always outbullied the bully. So you can learn that.
Yeah.
Or you can learn, hey, maybe I'm being a bully. Maybe I should stop being a bully.
It's like, I have no skill for that. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm out. I'm just like, I turn and walk away. It's so funny.
I have a skill for that and I have to watch it because that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
So you repeat what you learned,
Absolutely.
Right? And so I have to go, stop doing that. That's not productive. That doesn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Sure does feel good, but it doesn't help anybody. Wow. So you have to stop.
It's nice to know you won't be walked all over,
No, I won't be walked all over. Yeah, that's for sure. But
that's a nice,
anyway,
skill.
We should wrap this up.
Okay.
What an amazing story.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me talk about it.
Where do you go from? I mean, when are you going back? You don't know
hopefully
yet.
Soon. I want to be there in the next couple months.
Yeah.
At the very least, I want to go in the fall so I can see the fall leaves in Ohio.
Oh, gorgeous.
But I've got to go see my stepson in Texas at the 1st of September. So little man Isaiah. So I got to look at the schedule and see how I can work around that and stuff too. Right. But
as long as it doesn't interrupt my hair appointment.
It would never do that.
I'm
or
just
birds.
Kidding. Or birds. I know, which is now.
I know, right? He's waiting for us in the other room. So
he is. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you,
It's
Romi.
been so much fun.
It has been great. Well, this won't be the last time. We still have so much to talk about.
I know.
So I hope you enjoyed it.
I loved being a part of the Kreischer Media Machine. So thank you very much.
Right. We are kind of a machine. Well, I love you to pieces.
Love you.
You've
Thank
been
you.
such an important part of my life for so long.
Yeah.
And every time I have a hair appointment, there's never a part of me that goes, oh, I got to get my hair cut because I'm coming to see you.
Yeah.
So I enjoy
Thank
seeing you and catching up with you once a month now, since I have so much gray hair, which is even better.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's still stories evolving. Who knew?
Everybody's. I mean, every time I show up at your place, there's some big new thing that's happened, it
I
feels
know.
like.
So
So
true.
I've really enjoyed our relationship.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, I
And
have.
I like that you have a little place to go have a reprieve for yourself and do something for yourself while you're there
Yes.
too. And I always try like to not to inundate you and like talk too much and like, give you some space just to like decompress too while you're there.
You
So,
definitely do that. And
Yeah,
my feet
so-
slow down a little bit underwater.
good. Thank God. Hallelujah for the swans.
I know, right? Well, thank you, Romy.
All right. Thank you so much. All right.